know, if there's one thing the Trump administration hasn't been good at, it's everything. But in particular, they have sucked at filling key government jobs. As of today, 252 top government posts are still empty without even a nominee, which made it even stranger when this week, one position was filled with two people.
We don't know who's running the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. On Friday, President Trump named his budget director, Mick Mulvaney, to take over from Richard Cordray. But Cordray had announced that Deputy Director Leandra English would replace him. Well, she filed a lawsuit last night to block the president's choice, and now a judge may have to break the deadlock.
Who's going to end up being vindicated here? Is it Mick Mulvaney and Donald Trump, or is it Leandra English?
A simple question. Who's the boss?
Who's the boss?
Who's the boss?
Oh snap, boss fight, beep, 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 beep. Although I will say the who's the boss reference doesn't really work here. I get what everyone was trying to do, but in this case, it is genuinely unclear who the boss is. Yeah, because on the TV show, it was obvious. Angela is the boss. Tony works for Angela. If the roles were reversed, it wouldn't have even been a question who the boss was. The show would have just been called, He's the Boss, Not Her. Thank God this conforms to our gendered perceptions of what bosses are, so there's no confusion. That's what it would have been. Anyway, the fight over the financial watchdog agency went to court. And yesterday, a federal judge ruled that President Trump's budget director, Mick Mulvaney, is legally in charge of the agency. He looked at him and he said, "You are the captain," right? And I mean, for him to go to court to fight for this job, he must have really loved this government agency for a long time.
Mick Mulvaney is not a big fan of this agency. Take a listen to what he said about it back in 2014.
It's a wonderful example of how a bureaucracy will function if it has no accountability to anybody. It turns up being a joke, and that's what the CFPB really has been, in a sick, sad kind of way.
Wait, he said that and then he got the job? What was the interview like? So tell us what you think about our company. Oh, this place is trash, and I hate everything you stand for. P.S. I took a dump in the waiting room. Oh, so when can you start? I like it. So Mick Mulvaney really hates the government agency that he now runs. Yes. It makes you wonder, what is it that they've done that's so terrible?
The CFPB was formed in 2011 as part of the response to the 2008 financial crisis. Its mission is to oversee financial institutions, to encourage them to make less risky decisions, and to safeguard consumers from financial fraud.
Since 2011, the Bureau has provided nearly $12 billion in relief, including billions in refunds to consumers harmed by illegal banking practices.
They took money from banks and gave it back to the people? That's not how money works. Everyone knows its money goes into the banks, and then things happen, and then yachts. Come on, people. Look, the truth is, the CFPB has been instrumental in keeping banking institutions accountable for shady practices that affect many Americans. For example, it's the reason that Wells Fargo had to pay $185 million after ripping off customers by opening fake bank accounts in their names. But even more than that, the CFPB, or CFPB, helps keep banks financially stable to prevent another recession. But according to the Trump administration, the real victims are the banks themselves.
Donald Trump tweeted over the weekend the CFPB has been a total disaster. Financial institutions have been devastated and unable to properly serve the public.
He wants me to fix it. He wants me to get it back to the point where it can protect people without trampling on capitalism.
Financial institutions devastated? Trampling on capitalism? Have you seen capitalism lately? If you scroll through capitalism's Instagram feed, life is looking pretty good.
Huge profits undercut the administration's argument that regulations have hurt the banking industry.
We have a record all-time high for the Dow Jones Industrial Average and also the others, as we noted, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Russell.
U.S. banks are hauling in record profits. $171.3 billion last year. That's the third record in the past 4 years.
Yeah, people, Wall Street is making more money than ever before. And they were making money before. Remember that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? The banks were making so much money that they could do this. Now they're making even more money than that. God damn, now it makes you wonder, what are their parties like now, huh? Now they probably pay like giant people to throw them at the target, like... And that's the thing, Wall Street is already living large, while so much of America is still struggling. And castrating the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau will only make it worse. This is one of those times when I wish that there was a political hero, someone who would stand up and say, I'm not gonna let Wall Street get away with murder.
I'm not gonna let Wall Street get away with murder.
When you cast that ballot, just picture a Wall Street boardroom filled with the special interests who have been bleeding your country and your city and every place else, and imagine the look on their faces when you tell them you're fired. Fired.
Fired. We should make him the boss.